of us in the lobby. Just setting up the stream link now. Hopefully it picked it up straight away. So that, we're good. Picked it up straight away. Hope people can in fact hear me. I'll put this in announcement now. Alright, I've just posted in the chat now. GT7 driver and GT7 Esports League. Put that announcement in there. That way everyone is aware of the situation. So, there's an interesting situation that can arise from this race. Hope everyone is having a good afternoon, good evening. We're about to go racing in week 7 of Esports here. We'll see how everything is going to unfold. I assume we'll have a couple more drivers joining us in the next couple of moments. We are starting off 7 today because that is the start time for round 7 and round 8 as per usual. So it is an earlier start, hence why the stream is up a bit earlier today. Hopefully everyone joins the lobby so we can actually start in time. I'll run through the grid as we go along. Actually, let's do this now. So in Biff, we have Italian Team Motorsport. For reference, this is now round 7 and round 8. So we have now gone from the 15 teams we started with to the 5 teams at the top of the championship. 5 teams at the top of the championship now then. So these 5 teams will race in the next 2 weeks. They are double points racers. So, all that being said, we'll see how that goes. It goes over 187.5 miles as well, compared to the original 125 a normal esports race would run over. So, it is a much longer race, 1.5 times the size. It's qualifying still the same. The points are doubled. Everything's still to play for. The thing is here, there is a permutation where the championship is won tonight. For esports, there is a permutation where it is won tonight. So, going into the day, the current championship standings sit at FGR at 463 and NWR at 95. 595 rather. So, with that being said, the most a team can score on any given night for the next 2 weeks is 225. The least a team can score over the next 2 weeks is 96. Now, correct me if my maths is wrong here, but I believe that gives us a gap of around about 129 points. Current gap at the top of the championship sits at 132. Which does mean FGR have to outscore NWR by 3 points total. It would make next week incredibly improbable if they only got the 3 points, but they do have to outscore them to keep it going. The problem that has now situated for FGR is I don't think they're at full. They don't have 3 drivers, I don't believe, today. I will message Millers, yeah. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they're a man down, so that realistically makes their ability to try and outscore NWR on the night, very difficult. And that does become a problem in trying to get through to see if we can drag this to the final day. NWR able to become champions tonight. We'll go from the bottom up here in this lobby anyway. So the 5th place team is Italian Team Motorsport. They are running with Ben, MK in the 458, Kepler in the RSO1, and Henry in the GT18. And then we've got 4th place is P1R. They've got Jake in the AMG 20, Kevin in the same car, and the Dark Knight, a very regular driver in Esports in the GTR 18. Then you've got Project Platypus, BX driven basically every race the entire season in the 458, Perry in the GTR 18, and then Javi, which I believe is a Project Platypus debut, in the 296 Ferrari. So we have the new car on the grid. And then we've got FGR second with Millis in the M6 and Super GT returning from a long period of absence from ALR in the Huracan. And then we've got our current leaders NWR with a chance to wrap up the title with Lewis in the GT500, Yassar in the 650 and Jensen in the Suzuki. That's how we line up. I'm putting the starting soon one in so that everyone is aware of what's going on. We can get going in the next minute or so. There's a few more settings we may actually have to play with given the end of the season. A few things here that may need to have rules put to them, or we'll continue on and have a look at that in the off season. If you have any of, I'd like to point out, we are in the final couple of weeks. So if you have anybody interested in this kind of racing, feel free to message me about this, and we'll see what teams we can get in. We also have, we'll have to wait for Seagull to jump back in now as well. We also have an endurance, 12-hour endurance race in the beginning of January. The sign-ups for that have now gone live over the last week or so. So feel free to sign up to that as well. That is everything from me. We're just waiting for Seagull to get himself situated, and then we can get going. Alright, just make sure he's good, and then we can get going in the race here. So, championship permutations gets a lot more realistic with the fact that FGR have only got 2 drivers. This is going to have to be a blinder of a night for Super GT and for Milliston. One more look at the settings, and then we can get going. So we can start the qualifying session here. And that doesn't speak well already. There's someone being randomly kicked. For those who aren't in the know, there is a small bug going around. It seems to have affected some people and not affected anybody others at this point in time. Oh, we got new animations down the side there. Yeah, I'm gonna be nerding out. I will say this. This is my first actual lobby since the new update, so you're gonna have to be a little bit patient with me here. I'm gonna be finding out a few things about this update as we go along. Feel free to laugh at me on the way through. I guess Jensen the first one out. So we are on the Nürburgring GP circuit today. If you need the game volume turning down, let me know. It feels a little bit too loud in my own ears. So I will very much turn that down. But if you need it turning down, please do let me know. But yeah, well, look at that. Everyone just dropping off at the front now. We've got actually some very interesting different animations that are going on. And Jensen is the first one out on track. We've got Javi and BX after that. But yeah, the lowest, well, technically, Now the lowest the team can score is 100 on the night. We only have the 14 drivers. Actually, it's not even that. It's 102. I'm not turning the music off. You can live with the music. We got even more interesting bug glitches and instability. Yeah, it's just. So I have been very out of the know when it comes to post-update GT7. I'll admit I've been fairly not on the game. So this is going to be completely new to me. I am aware of a few things. Have to be, as my role as admin, I have to be aware of something at the very least. But yeah, we're gonna learn some stuff together. That's a certain. I don't think anyone should be affected in qualifying, however. We got Jensen here on his first lap now then. So we're going into first flying laps. Jensen is up ahead of, well, out ahead of Javi. So those two are going to be the benchmark setters in this qualifying session for now. NWR need to be outscored by 3 points between, outscored by FGR by 3 points. Let's see if there's any permutation further down with Project Platypus potentially as well. Let's see how close they are in this championship by up to this point. So we've got Project Platypus of 418. They're going to need to outscore by about 50 in order to keep this going, and they're going to have something special of a night for that to happen realistically. There is a possibility. It's a faint possibility that a three-way title fight goes into Bathurst next week. It might be a faint possibility that we even get a title fight going into Bathurst next week, but we will continue to wait and find out. Yeah, we'll continue on and see how that does play out as the night progresses. For those who aren't aware, there is a bug in the race itself where the leader of the race, I'm not entirely sure why it happens or what causes it, but the leader of the race can get randomly kicked out of the lobby. If that does happen, as Jensen does a 54.8 to start with, have a 55.8 entire second back. If that does happen early on, I think it's the first 5 laps, we will restart the race. We can do this a maximum of 3 times before the race will then be postponed. Back an extra week, and we go and push Bathurst back a week as well. If it happens post lap 5, I believe it is, we will enact something similar to red flag procedures on F1. Everyone will get a tyre change if they so wish to do so. The laps will come off the lap counter of the 59 that we have at the start, and we will run from there. Same thing goes, if it happens 3 times throughout the night, then the race will be null and void. We will move it back a week. We will run the Nürburgring again next week, and then have after that we will have Bathurst right before Christmas. So that's how that happens. In-game penalties should be on. Let's do a very quick double check of the settings. I'm pretty sure it is on. Flag rules are on. Penalties are on weak. Yeah, everything is as it should be. So yeah, I've done everything I need to explain now. Oh, we've got a little sidebar with all the timing. Jesus! There's a couple of people with penalties. There's one for Perry, there's one for Lewis as well. I am definitely not getting a little bit nerdy over the fact that we actually have the time down the side of the screen now for qualifying as well. Definitely not. That's brilliant. I wonder if we've got more settings then. It doesn't look like it. 55.3 for BX, 54.6 currently for Jensen out in front. You saw, and then Super G2 coming around the final corner now then. 56.7 for Clark. Needs to be doing a bit better than that. Lewis did a 56.5. Super GT, half a second quicker. 54.8. Up in a second. BX is in 4th. Millicent's up into 5th. Why not postpone the race until the bug is fixed? Well, because, quite frankly, if we run too close to Christmas, then people won't turn up. That's the main answer I can give you. We have the license to move it back 1 week and not run into Christmas, but it would also mean that race is on like the 22nd of December or something in that nature, and that is potentially too close to Christmas for some people. Let's actually get the calendar up here right now. So it would be the 21st of December. It's the week we do have reserved, but it's potentially running a little bit too close to Christmas, so you could see numbers dwindle. That's why we're being a bit cautious in terms of when the season ends here. We don't want to run too close. And when we actually put an announcement out earlier on about said glitch, there's a decent number of people who reacted and wasn't even aware of the existence of the glitch. So I don't really know how much it's going to play a part. I just know of its existence. That's why we're going to be monitoring it very closely throughout today. And tomorrow BX into the pits. Yassar is going into the, down to the line now. 54.4 from Yassar, and it's up by a tenth. And some change, 0.11. He takes himself provisional pole. Jake has been kicked again. Not sure why. Also not sure of his time before he got kicked either. 54.7 for Super GT. Exactly the same distance behind Jensen as Jensen is behind Yassar. Miller's over the line multiple times in your lobbies. Yeah, I was about to say, I can only go off the information I have. I know that's underwhelming to some people, but I can only go off the information I have. And that is as far as I'm aware, the information that I have received. So, yeah, we didn't want to postpone the races. We are going to be overly cautious, however. If I do see stuff that is going to happen, if it does happen, then we will act. If it turns out a race gets null and void, then a race gets null and void. It is what it is. We'd rather get racing than none whatsoever. Seagull has joined the room. I assume they still haven't actually added the ability to join qualifying midway through. Only seems to be affecting Jake at the moment, though. Going through Millis. That didn't look good there for Ben MK as he goes through the lap. Who's the closest to the line right now? It looked like that was Jensen, 54.4. And he is, in fact, actually on provisional pole now. Yassar going very wide. BX to the line as well. Not improving for either of these guys as they look to set up what will be their last lap. Super GT is probably not going to beat it to the line. That's going to be close. Emery's there. Super GT is there. I think he may have not. I think he may have got the flag. Oh, yeah, he has. He's got the flag. That's the end of his qualifying session. Perry up to 56.4, 55.6 for the Dark Knight. Miller's 55.1, good enough for 4th. So Kepler after that. Improvement up into 10th, then Javi. No improvement whatsoever for Javi then. Who's the one closest to the line now? Ben MK going round the final couple of corners. Okay, so Jake's time before the kick was a 55.7. That is not the track. That is not even close to the track. 55.7 only good enough for 10th at the moment. So Ben NK to the line is not going to improve here. That leaves us with 4 drivers left, and one of them is Jensen, who's currently on a quicker lap than his fastest so far. As of right now, it is 1 and 2 for NWR as they look to go over, well, get it over and done with tonight. Round the final corner for Jensen here then. He goes to the line for Jensen. It's not quicker. No improvement for Jensen. Yassar will be coming to the line as well. Yassar's got a second penalty, so nothing's going to happen there. BX with 54.7 puts him up in a fourth. Who is the last one up? It is Lewis, but Lewis has a penalty as well. And Jensen will take pole points here for NWR. Don't forget, it's 2 usually enough, but that's doubled to 4. And they have just set themselves 4 points closer. Edging themselves closer and closer to the winning, to the end point, to winning the title tonight. It might be FGR's best interest to hope that it ends up happening and getting a forfeit for, well, a move. To the end of, to the end of next week. Who the hell are you? Yeah, that's fine, Jensen. Need to figure out what's happening here. Just sorting that out. He did actually set a qualifying lap, so I do have to put him where he actually qualified. We'll have to end the race here, though, so I will take that picture and that picture. That way I have the ability to do. End race as well, so I can put through. Edit event settings, practice race, 59 laps, everything that needs to be the same. This needs to be set by host. Everything else should be as it is. Usually we don't do this in week 7 and week 8, admittedly. No, it gives you the idea of what's been changed. Didn't need that. Would prefer that. I'm fine with that being a thing. Who the hell is this guy? I need to figure out who the hell this Spanish guy is. I don't think he's meant to be here. He is random, okay. Yep, we're kicking him. We are kicking him. I've been told it's random, so... God damn it. I need Lewis, I need Millis and Ben to ready up, and then I can enter people in. When Jensen says he's good, then... I can sort all that out. We can sort the grid out and go from there. Been told there it's a 55.71 from Jake, so that is good enough for 10th. Kepler did not improve past that. So when Ben just gets in readied up, we'll be good to sort the grid. Appreciate everyone joining us on a Sunday afternoon here. The 14th person readied up. You can change the grid order. Jensen is on pole. Then it is Yassar from Super GT. And then BX in 4th. Where is he? There he is. I believe that would put Lewis 5th. It didn't actually. Millis beat him out. So it's Millis, then it's Lewis. Decent qualifying for the Super GT, for FGR as a whole. They need a little bit more from the rest of the group. However, they need a little bit of help today. Ben MK and then Emery. After Lewis. That rounds out the top 10. Then we got the Dark Knight and Jake in 9th and 10th, and then Kepler on the back of that. Then it's Javi, Kevin, Perry at the back. There you go. So we have our 14 in a row. I apparently can't do maths sometimes, but that's just how it is. So we have our 14. I know Jensen is still somewhere at the moment, so we'll have to hold on for him. I haven't seen anything from Jensen saying that he's good, so... Yeah, we're just waiting for a couple of people then. Jensen actually put yes, so... As far as I'm aware, everyone else should be good to go. Dark Knight says yes as well. Kevin's... What? 1, 2, 3... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Of the 14 drivers, Perry hasn't put anything. Kepler had, that's 11. So it's Perry. It was, wasn't it? But yeah, we'll put starting soon then. I haven't heard anything from those particular drivers who said that they aren't ready, so I am going to assume that they are. We will have to go through these settings, I think, and put in a few things. But yeah, this is a good time as well. If you guys have any teams that want to be in next season's championship, please do let me know. Or WAC or BX, all three of us still around. Well, I've had responses from about 9 or 10 of the teams that raced this season. If you haven't responded to us in terms of if you want to race again next season, then I will be messaging you, or WAC will be messaging you, either or, over the next couple of days to make sure that we can get an answer or figure out the state of how many teams that we have for next season. That way we can try and push on for a little bit of a recruitment drive and see if we can get some new teams in here as well for next season. It starts in the new year. That'll be 2026. But until then, let's get racing. I did all the settings. I haven't done anything wrong as far as I'm aware. I actually really like that you can still look at the settings on the way through, because I definitely didn't mess that up. It's 59 laps. Here we go. So we know about the situation with the bugs. We'll see. I'll keep an eye out with that as we go along. This is going to have to be one hell of a start for Super GT. We continue on. We finally see red light. There's 2, there's 3, there's 4. The first double points race of the season. It's lights out and away we go. Who got the better start? It looks like BX in third got the better start. But he's going to get only Yassar down towards turn 1. The Ferrari off to a blinder. Millis all the way down, almost hitting into turn 1. But he is up in the east. Well, he stayed in 5th. He somehow managed to avoid killing people on the way through. Ben's still in 7th. Emery and Kepler, ITM drivers, just trying to get their way through. As we continue watching through the first sector of the Dark Knight on the inside of Emery now. P1R and ITM both fighting it out for fourth as it stands in the championship. These two very much, well, these two teams did well to get here, to be honest with you. Debut for both of them into the Lobby A for the final couple of races is an achievement in itself. Lewis has dropped to 7th, so Ben has overtaken him. Millis and Super GT looking to move forward. Don't forget that Millis and Super GT between them have to outscore NWR by 7 points now after the qualifying session, which does mean they're going to have to get some luck in here. One of these NWR drivers are going to have to make a mistake or two, and I think Ben is the first one that does make a mistake. And we're going to get a little bit of a view of what happened to Ben there. We head through the Schumacher S's for the first time on the night, and Ben just doesn't get to turn in at any point and has dropped off the back. So he's dropped from 6th backwards now. There is a penalty further forward as well, and that is for Super GT as Jensen's made a potential issue here. Jensen down into 4th, Millis on the inside looking to get that position off of him. And he will. Millison, there's BX are now side by side. Millison off the track. It is carnage at the end of the first lap, and I don't even know where to even start with the replays. Everyone is still right beside each other. I don't even know what to make of the end of that first corner. This is the end of the first lap. Absolute carnage. Jake is up in the 6th. Jensen's in 5th. And all of a sudden, Super GT now leads out of both of the top two teams. Emery gets tagged. I'm not sure who that was. I think that might have been Javi that tagged Emery on the way through. And it's complete carnage at the beginning of this race. I think the biggest bit of carnage is now Millis down in 14th, but he switched back to Perry, who will not be able to make that move. I'm not entirely sure what Perry was trying to do either, as Millis will definitely take that place back. So Yassar leads from BX. Javi now going to the inside on Caplero. It's going to have to be one hell of a recovery drive now from Millis. And that looks like a little bit more contact. This time Ben and Kevin coming together, and Millis is going to take advantage of this potentially. He won't be complaining if what happened at the end of the first lap. And he takes 3 positions back straight away if he can do it. Needs to be storming his way through the group now. Gone through the first couple of laps. Hasn't been a change. Well, there has actually been a change for the lead this time. Super GT has a half-second penalty in 3rd. BX currently 3.2 off the back of Yassar. If Yassar wins, that'll be 80 points. Going NWR's way, that'll make the outscoring task that FGR has all that more difficult. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Yeah, it works the same way. It works the same way. You get the driver screen off the information off there. Yassar comfortably clear, up past 4 seconds. Out in front now, Jensen and Lewis are fighting out. Here comes Jake to the inside. Jake might get them both. This might be brilliant for Jake. Lewis on the outside. Can he get himself safe ahead of the Merc? He has. We're still 5 cars within a space of about a second. Lewis on the inside of Jensen as well. The Dark Knight's just trying to push himself in. Emery on the inside of Lewis. A little bit of contact, but nothing sticks. Emery is still there. The Dark Knight's got himself involved as well. He's up in the 6th. He's got past Emery. And P1R are doing a good job of this. Jake goes right through the inside, and that may have been a push to pass. Not entirely sure, but still surviving the way through. And Jake is up ahead of Emery now. Javi is 9th. Ben in 10th. Kepler in 11th. Millis is right at the back of the field again. He is not having a fun time. Yassar is definitively having a fun time out in front, that's for certain. And the longer this goes, the better it is for NWR. The chance that they have to try and win this championship tonight are just going through the roof the longer this goes on. We continue on in this race. BX still 1.4 ahead of Super GT. Super GT realistically needs to win this race for any chance of FGR standing in this championship for Bathurst next week. Lewis still behind Jensen. Dark Knight is right on the back of him. Be great news for FGR if points can be taken off these two. Continue on in this third, lap 3. Bug free at the moment. E1R will be absolutely loving the way this race has gone. 6th and 7th for their drivers in this lobby. They'll put up massive points. They're already beaten 2 sets of Project Platypus drivers if they are looking to try and gain an extra position in the championship. Here we go, Kevin with Perry and Millis on the inside! And Millis is picking them both off! Millis down the inside, gets to both, and Perry gets tagged by Kevin! As Perry goes round as well, Perry is up in the 13th, somehow kept the car stable. Millis up in the 12th with Kepler in sight. And he looks to try and gain a few positions back. You can see the burgundy red still in the shot as well, so the gap is not that big between 12th and 4th. So it just takes Millis to get in front of the 2 Italian drivers here. Well, the Italian Team Motorsport, the ITM drivers rather. And the chance, well, the game will be back on for Millis at the very least. Looking the long way round on Kepler. Not going to make it easy, that's a set. The front 3 have just driven off. You saw in complete control of this race from the opening bell. And we'll see if there's anything for Millis, who's going the long way round on Kepler here. Not sure that was the choice he should have done. Maybe they switched to the inside. He may have had a run on Kepler, maybe gone a little bit deep, but it would have been a bit more profitable for the German. Instead, he has to stick behind the Italian a little bit longer. Dark Knight behind Emery, and Jake's in the wall! Jake is rolling backwards! Can I get a camera angle on this, please? Thank you, game. What has happened to Jake? He was right at the back of Lewis. Oh, and he's just DC'd. He just flat out DC'd. Again. 3 in a row. I don't know why it's happening to just Jake. Ross, are you in Ross and Wack? Are you in the chat right now? I had someone DM me the meds happen here, if that counts for anything, or if that's just just a normal DC, I guess, potentially. I don't know if I have to pull out any triggers for that one. I don't think I do. I think it was just stated that it's a leader. I could be wrong. That's why I'm asking for a little bit of confirmation on that. We'll let it run in the process. That's a bit unfortunate. Yeah, I got a message saying carry on. So, okay, so we are going to carry on here then. Super GT absolutely levering out some lap times at the moment. 2/10 to a second quicker than BX on the last lap. Seemingly purple at the moment as well, as he looks to try and get close enough to BX to try and make a move. Try and make a move forward towards the lead of this race. He knows Yassar is going to be a problem the longer this continues on. There's purple from the first 2 sectors. You can see the difference out front already. Don't forget, there is a potential chance of rain in this one as well. If that ends up happening, things can get flipped on their head very quickly. We'll see if that seem to be the case. Jensen 1.7 ahead of Lewis, who now has Emery on the back of him after Jake's DC early on. The fact that Jake DC 3 separate times is really unfortunate. I don't know why he seemed to be targeting him today. Abby with Ben. And I think that's also Millis looking for ninth, looking for a little bit more than ninth potentially on the inside. This could be brilliant if he can hold this. Now the outside of turn 2. And he's just short of Ben. He is still ahead of the Dark Knight, looking for ninth, looking for 8th. Oh, and he tagged Ben. And Ben has got heavy. And there's another look at this. Get another look at this one from Chase Cam view. I think this was on the inside of Ben. It was, and Javi got caught up in the entire mess. A little bit of bang from, and I think Ben's actually stopped. Ben has stopped on track to let Javi back through. Not entirely sure he should be doing. I'm not entirely sure that's his fault, you know. Maybe he feels he went a little bit too deep regardless. I'm not entirely sure that's his fault. Looked a little bit like he got tagged on the inside to me. I don't know if he was going to hit there anyway. Dark Knight in 13th, Ben in 12th then. We've lost another driver, which now means that the lowest you can get, what, is another 6 points up, so 112 is the lowest you can get, which just narrows it down even further. It means that more has to be done from Project Platypus in particular to keep their hopes alive, and FGR need to, well, they still need to out-drive 3 different drivers with 2. That's the difficulty for them today. Not necessarily who's going to win the race, not necessarily how everything else goes. It's just trying to win a 2-on-3 battle, and the likelihood of that is going to happen when you saw it's currently out in front by a long way. It's dwindling by the moment. BX there, half a second penalty. Looks like he may be in position to have Super GT potentially snatch a second here, and if he can get a second, who knows, there may be an opportunity to start heading after Yassar. The pace is going to have to pick up though. Jensen 1.3 ahead of Lewis, who's got Emery behind him. Emery needs to pick up the pace if you're FGR as well. Millis knows that he probably got something coming his way. In turn, Millis has got to find something in the tank. He has got himself back from 7th, back to 7th from last. He isn't beating any of the FGR, any of the NWR drivers up to this point though. That's the big issue. Realistically, he has to beat Jensen and Lewis at the absolute minimum. And then Super GT has to beat Yassar. Realistically, FGR needs a late mistake. Late DC is something of that nature. They really mess with NWR's chances. Otherwise, it's going to be a struggle. You go through 1.3 off of Lewis is Emery. 1.1 off of Emery is Millis. Millis seems to have some pace here. Millis on 156.2, 156.5 is the best lap from Emery. Emery didn't look all too great there either. 56.5 is Lewis's best lap as well. So there is a chance here for Millis to start moving forward. Jensen's best lap, 55.9 now, as he just starts to make a little bit of headway. We continue on in this race. 8 seconds to BX, who is now behind Super GT, who is now in second place. We'll continue to monitor the situation as everything progresses in terms of the points. Let's get the point system up now as well. First is 80, that much I can tell you. Yassar doesn't have the fastest lap. That goes to Super GT. So Super GT picking up an extra couple of points to swing everything as well. Fastest lap is worth 2, it's doubled the 4. So that cancels out the qualifying session, brings the points back to 3 in what FGR need to outscore NWR by to keep the championship alive one more week. 5.3 seconds the gap to the leader. Slightly better tyre than the rear for Yassar. We continue on. Super GT's return to ALR right now is proving profitable. VX 8 tenths of a second off the back of that. Lewis is dropping off the back of Jensen quite some way. And Millis is now pushing forward. Millis is going to look for this down into the hairpin if he can get a good enough run. It doesn't look like he will. It looked a little bit sideways through the corner. We'll see if that's going to impact anything. It probably will into this hairpin. It'll stop Millis going by now, but it will not stop Millis taking a shot into turn 1 potentially. All it will take is a good corner here. One good exit out of the final corner. Down the turn one is definitely on. Again, it just looked a little bit sideways from Millis. He did still take the corner better than what was done by Henry, but Henry only losing a tenth of a second realistically heading down into turn one. That's going to cut any hopes for Millis to go by very short. Don't forget, Henry gets overtaken by Millis. Millis then has a 3 shot at Lewis. Second is 5 points behind first, so it'll be 75 to FGR, 80 to NWR as it stands from the first two. The problem being 4th and 5th is worth, 128 points combined. And Millis can't outscore that on his own. So it's going to have to be done a lot. He's going to have to do a lot here, quite frankly, is Millis to really, really have a chance. And even then, they may still be relying on some luck. Perry up in the 8th, Pabby in 9th, Kevin in 10th with Ben in 11th. Looked like Kevin may have just gone round the outside there. Does a good job of doing so up in the wood. Well, holding Ben back for now. The Dark Knight in 13th. We've got 2 ITM drivers in 13th and 12th. 12th and 11th rather. Now actually, considering we actually are 1/3 further down. Kevin is 4 tenths in front of that in 10th with Harvey right in front of that. About 8 tenths of a second to Kevin. Comfortably off the back of his own teammate. Teammate about 2 tenths of a 2 seconds, sorry, 2.5 seconds off the back of Millis, who's got a far better run now than he did on the prior lap against Emery. Emery made a massive error out of the chicane. Millis was a little bit better, but he isn't going to be a lot better now because it is a good exit, but it's still not enough. Lewis has a second penalty in front. That will drop him right into the clutches of Emery. And also, if he's in the clutches of Emery, he'll be in the clutches of Millis as well. That's what Millis needs right now. Jensen, 3.5 seconds further forward off that, but they are both on the medium tyres. That is something worth stating. You have to use you have to use 2 different compounds of tyre. A couple of drivers for NWR have elected to start on the medium tyres. Everyone out in front, the top 3, all on the soft tyres. Super GT has the best fuel of the 3. Jens, it looked like you saw, has the best tyres of the 3. Lewis had that second penalty. He is clearing Emery quite heavily. Millis needs to overtake Emery, and he needs to do it fairly quickly here. Otherwise, they're in danger of that second penalty not really making much of a difference. But he's going to serve it at the end of in the middle of the next straight. So that's where it'll become apparent on whether or not he's gained enough of a gap. 1.9 would assume that he has. Emery getting a little bit wide there, maybe touching a little bit of grass. He is certainly kicking up a lot of gravel on the way through. The penalty now being served by Lewis. That gap is going to come down quite heavily. It's now under a second. Looks like 1.3 has come off from Lewis into the chicane. Emery again, not so good out the exit of that chicane. Going to leave him rather under fire now. Here we go. Millis has got a good exit here. We'll put Millis right in position for an overtake. He's got to potentially launch to the inside here. If he can get close enough, he's got to try and make the move stick. He's not going to try and make the move stick. He almost hit the back of Emery. I am surprised there wasn't a push to the, pull to the inside to potentially try and make the move stick, but he's going around the long way of turn 2. A good exit will solidify it. A bad exit will do exactly what it just did. Switchback attempt here for Millis on Emery, but again, the exit of turn 3 just doing a number. The exit of turn 4 puts it back in play. Millis now to the inside. As I said before, he needed to lunge at some point. He will definitely lunge now. Emery slightly off the track. Millis is through. And Emery will drop to 7th. Now Lewis 1.6 ahead of Millis, and now Millis has got to get a move on. Got to get a move on. He's got to get a move on as soon as humanly possible. 4.5 the gap out front. That gap is slowly but surely coming down. Perry, about 8 tenths of a second ahead of his teammate. The Project Platypus car starting to drive away from the rest of the pack. Ben is now in 10th, Kevin in 11th. Those two have switched positions back. Kepler right on the back of Kevin now as well. As Yassar is into the pit. So, the first pit stop of the race. 59 lap race. It is lap 11. The strategy going to be fairly difficult, I think, to actually try and decipher at this point in time. Super GT will take the lead of the race. BX is into the pits as well. Kepler stays out, goes to the inside of Kevin, who didn't get a particularly good chicane. And Kepler will get a far better exit out of that. Super GT had clean air in the first place, but now it's hammer time. Super GT has got to put down some excellent laps here. Well, he got the extra lap or two of fuel. Kepler losing control of the car just a little bit, but I think Kevin is not going to be able to take that past. He isn't. And Kepler will hang on for a split second longer. So BX and Perry came in as well. So you saw BX and Perry all made the stop on that lap. First of the pit stops in then. All of them onto another set of softs. Rest of the group, Kevin now on the inside of Kepler all over again. Kepler goes deep. Kevin not really fighting it along the outside. And yeah, loses out as a result of not doing that. He looks to the inside potentially now. You've got to go to the inside on the hairpin. A bit of contact on the way through. But he is past Kepler. Oh, and he got tagged! Kepler got tagged by the Dark Knight. And that is going to be absolute nightmarish for Kepler, who is well and truly at the back of the grid now. That is definitely, that's definitely a problem. I think the best way to describe that is that you got tag teamed, to be completely honest with you. By everyone is going to be pitting at the end of this lap. 10-second advantage as of right now for Super GT on Jensen. The pit lane is just starting to figure itself out. Everyone in at the start. Emery, actually not everyone in at the start. Javi will now assume the lead of the race. And this is the first time we've seen Javi lead a race in a long time. He can still say he led a lap this season though. Like you saw, Kepler, Kepler still out on track as well. Hasn't picked yet. Here comes BX. Going the long way round on Kepler, who's definitely struggling a lot more now after the incident between him and the Dark Knight. And yeah, that's easy done. Easy pickings for BX. Super GT went onto a set of medium tyres. Jensen went onto a set of softs. So did Lewis. Looks like everyone but Super GT may have elected for the soft tyre here. Don't forget that Jensen and Lewis have already used the mediums. They don't have to use them again. They can just spam softs to the end of the race now. We'll see how that plays out. Still not entirely sure of the strategy. It looks like the fuel can go probably in and around, somewhere around about the 22 lap mark on a full tank. So I wonder if that is going to be what happens. So people choosing to do that later on. Kepler in fourth right now, Super GT. 4 seconds ahead of Jensen. Don't forget that pit stop was more fuel for Super GT than it was for everyone else. That's a certain. Javi now in for his stock. You would expect Jensen to cut that gap fairly quickly. Miller's now 4 seconds behind Perry. Perry went on to another set of soft, however. Miller's on a medium tyre. So FGR just doing a little bit of an alternate strategy. Ben ahead of Emery right now as well, who is also on a medium tyre. Ben went on to a second set of soft by the looks of things. We got Kevin and the Dark Knight both on the mediums at the back. Javi in, Kepler in. So Javi's on another set of soft then. 66% fuel going in that tank. That should see him out ahead of Miller's potentially. Penalty for BX, which will extend the gap to Yassar just that little bit longer. And Javi is in fact out ahead of Miller. So once again, Millis will have to overtake. Ben's on a softer tyre as well. To remember that. But this race continues on. Oh, it didn't look good for Millis there. It didn't look good for Henry either. Both of them maybe a little bit over-aggressive on the throttle. By the looks of things there. Sliding it out the corner, catching it on the way through though. Millis has to defend from Ben. He looks to do that exactly from the inside. Miller's trying to hold on. Ben on the outside looking for a better exit. Doesn't get anywhere near what he needed. He's going to be on the outside for the Schumacher S's here, which is going to be a fairly interesting task for him to undertake. Javi's left the room. I'm not entirely sure why that was in the pit stop. He had only just taken the lead. Does that fall under remit? No, Javi had just pit. He had only just taken the lead, so I'm going to go back onto Discord now and figure this out. This is... I don't know whether or not that would fall under it. I think it should. Let's see if I can... Is anyone in here? Is anyone admin related in here at the moment? I think that might fall under that remit. Did Javi leave the pits? I didn't actually see. Did not see if he did. Let's see if I can get a hold of Javi. Just give him 1 second. Just trying to figure out whether or not we should be red flagging this. Apologies. But yeah, still the same out in front. Nothing really has changed. Everyone's still fighting it out. Millis is still ahead of Ben as well. Millis doing maybe enough. He actually gets it stopped. Actually, no. I don't see any... I don't see any response. Someone needs to get a hold of Javi. Let me see if I can DM him, potentially. Because if he did leave the... God damn it. It's really bad. Here comes Miller still defending from MK. Doing an enough job for now. Didn't look like that on the exit though. MK's really alongside now. Is he going to be able to go down the inside, take the position off Millis? Or is Millis going to pull off a defense and a half? Millis is still in front. Millis is still there. Maybe a little bit of contact there, potentially. On the way through. Let's see if we can get a better angle of that. Looks like a little bit of contact on the way through there as well. Miller's pulled to the outside. Not entirely sure. He left a lot in there, to be honest with you. If he ain't replying, then we should carry on. Okay, we'll leave that be then. I mean... yeah, he's not responding to me. Well, it looks like Miller's looking to try and hold on again. Miller's doing a fantastic job there against MK. He gets himself on the way through, still in 7th, doing a fantastic job at the defensive side of driving. Looks like go through. Dark Knight and Kevin are still driving together. Kepler in 12th, a long way back. He got booted from the pits. Ross, he got booted from the pit. No, he said he left the pit. Sorry, he said he left the pit. He left the pits. Did 1 or 2 laps after the stop, then his game crashed. Dico also points out he came out in 7th. So yeah, we'll continue on, I guess then. I wonder what happens. Yeah, I wonder what happens if we have more of these DNFs though. That seems to be very targeted. Not sure, no one's been crashing out of the lobbies up to this point though. It seems to be potentially something related to the update. Any chance of rain in this? I mean, there is a chance of rain of this. But if you look up at the sky, good luck. Because that looks like it's clear as day, to be completely honest with you. So there is still there is a large chance of rain. It can rain as far as I'm aware. Someone might be able to correct me if that doesn't exist on this track, but I'm pretty sure it does. Continue on. Ross, I know you're still in the chat, so out of curiosity, how many more DCs before this doesn't count? We've lost 2 already. I don't know if we have I don't know the rules that we had for that, actually. Take that into account. But yeah, just have to be aware of the situation. It's our 8 seconds ahead of BX, comfortably out in front right now. It's just cruise control this race. That over the second DNF, that also means the points that matter, the points you can get for the lowest finish in here is, well, a little bit higher now as well. So that puts that point so total at what, 12th, 11th and 10th. If there was something massive to happen, that'd still be what, 116 points minimum that the NWR will score here. That's going to be absolutely massive for their title hopes. Even if it isn't done today, which, as of right now, the longer this goes, the more prevalent that looks. Hopefully we'll get some sort of a hot fix from GT at some point in the next week or so. It seems to be a little bit buggy at times, so we go through. There's a random game crash at the very least. Millis is still ahead of Ben, who's really had a rough time of trying to overtake here. A really rough time of trying to overtake for the 7th place, and they just tack on a second penalty as well, for good measure. Continue on with Emery in 9th, Kevin, then Dark Knight and Kepler 7 seconds off. It's not been a good day for ITM, that's a certain. For significant, that's a short window. I mean, it hasn't been a short window. We'll have to figure it out. If there is another DC though, we definitely have to have a conversation in regard to it, I think. Because then it's feels like the actual game problem if there's the random game crashes in this period of time. That doesn't seem like that's something that's been happening all that often. We'll still carry on either way. Super GT 2 seconds behind Jensen in all of this. He's trying to figure out the situation that was going on. But yeah, 2 seconds now, the gap between Jensen and Super GT in the opposite direction than what it was the last time we saw this fight. Super GT will be on soft sooner rather than later. He goes through his medium stint. I can imagine, as we said earlier, the fuel probably can't do more than about 22, 24 if you're lucky. That'll be a bit more of a problem. Well, they put him roughly, I think, about lap 12, I think it was the pit. I think it was about lap 12, that pit. They put him in about lap 34 total. Actually, might give him an opportunity to go to the end of the race on a second set of mediums, but that's going to be very interesting. We continue on in this one. Looks like he might attempt to do a two-stop here. I wonder if that's going to be the case for Jensen and company as well. I don't think it will. Only this is close for once. Are you sure about that, Chief? Well, Miller's there, still comfortably out of bend now. 2.9, 3 seconds actually is the difference in the gaps now. I wonder, yeah, everyone just starting to be separated quite heavily. No one within that second range on this track right now. And we'll see if that continues to be the case when the strategies start to play out. So, 7.6 now. BX has a penalty. He'll bring that over 10 seconds to Yassar out in front. First and third right now is enough for NWR to win the title here. The odds stacked against FGR from the moment the lights went out by the looks of things. Half-second penalty here for BX. Jensen 7.5 off the back of that. Super GT 4 seconds further back on that one. I just don't know if that situation Super GT's got himself in is a good one. Either he's going to be defending heavily from NWR at the end, or he's going to be the one that does the chasing, and I think either way he's going to have a bit of a problem doing either solution. Perry is 12 seconds off the back of Lewis. No one really posing any threat to Lewis either at the moment. We continue on lap 20 of this race. This is the first time Nürburgring GP has been on an ALR Esports calendar. Racing hasn't been studded at the moment, I'll say that much. That's probably the fairest assumption to have made. Emery in behind Ben. That's about 2 and it's about just shy of about 3 seconds on both sides. Dark Knight still 1.5 ahead of Kevin Keplero. A long way back. The point he might be about to, well, he's not quite getting lapped yet. He might be on the cards for it if he continues to drive as he currently is. It's our 10-second clear of BX out in front. as well. BX picks up another half second's worth of penalties. It's just adding to the challenge BX is creating himself in trying to catch Yassar. Yassar has been fairly unbreakable in this race so far. Making those silly little errors to get yourself those power second penalties are going to make it a whole lot worse, a whole lot more difficult to try and make that move. Try and catch that gap in any way, shape or form. I think Yassar's it's probably safe if he spins as well at the moment. With the way this is currently unfolding. There's Jensen in the back of the field, in the back of the shop there. Just kicking up a little bit of gravel. It just looks like he is just starting to chase down BX just a little bit. About 2 seconds the gap now from Super GT to Lewis. Really know how this is gonna go in terms of how long it's gonna take Lewis to get onto the back of him. Don't forget Lewis is on soft tyres. Those soft tyres are just about to hit half wear. Millis also still quite heavily off the back of Perry as well. He is still quite heavily now ahead of BX as well. Not ahead of BX, sorry, Ben as well in 8th. So Millis is just starting to pull away from behind, but he is also not really making any dent in front. Not good news for Millis, because Millis needs to be getting all the places he can possibly try and ascertain at the moment and hope for an absolute miracle at this stage of the race. Continue on. Kevin's just dropping off the back of the Dark Knight. You have been watching a whole 30 minutes behind this entire time. How have you even managed that? You're on lap 5. We're on lap 23, Jack. We've had a couple of disconnects and that is genuinely impressive. Where did you disappear? You disappeared for half an hour, clearly, and then just went back to YouTube and was just like, yeah, that'll go. It should be live, even though that's not how YouTube works. And continue on. 12 seconds now. The gap at the front. BX just trying to get himself some form of a rhythm, because Jensen is very quickly catching up. That was 5 seconds a lap or two ago, now 3.5. Don't forget they're both on softs as well. Super GT 6 seconds off the back, but obviously he is on a medium tyre. Lewis is still 2.5 seconds back off that, so he really isn't making any dent into this at all, and the second penalty he just received isn't going to help him in the slightest in the process of doing that. So he's going to have to do this a little bit, a little bit quicker now than Lewis, to just see if he can get onto the back of Super GT. That snap of the car there won't help him out either. Those soft tyres are just starting to take a little bit of a toll on him. You can see that just the wide line every single time he goes into the corners, it's just one after another. We're just starting to go slightly pear-shaped for him. See Super GT 2.5 seconds clear. Well, each turn they go, he's just starting to open it back up. There's the second penalty in for Lewis as well now, so that gap's going to go about 4 seconds, maybe a little bit more. Or will it? Apparently you don't lose a lot of time on your penalties here. Yeah, it's a correction, you don't lose any time on your penalties here, apart from the actual stated amount. It probably won't help if you're driving on the dirt though, out of that final chicane. It's just starting to create, he's just starting to, Super GT's created a little bit of a gap to Lewis now, obviously with the help of that second penalty. Jensen 6.3 in front. His tyres are going to start falling off. That'll come back to Super GT toward the end of the stint, realistically. That should go for BX and for Yassar as well. They're all on the soft tyre at the moment. Yassar and BX will have to use mediums at some point, so the gaps will start to come back down. Jensen doesn't have to use mediums at all for the rest of this race, considering he started on them. Super GT currently on the mediums, so he won't have to do so either if he chooses not to. Lewis started on the mediums, and so you can see the pattern starting to emerge from third through fifth. Perry still 14 seconds off the back of Lewis. I don't think he has used the medium up to this point, so he will have to shift onto that later down the line. We'll see if anything's going to happen from Super GT, who's covered them, Ben off fantastically, and now going after Perry is starting to close that gap down. The gap, those tyres are just starting to swing back in Melissa's favour. If he can get 60, he'll be happy. He would have been happy with that beginning of the day. Would have hoped for a little bit of backup, but obviously being one man down, he's got to be his own. Well, he's got to be him, and Super GT is going to have their own backup now, in terms of they've got to outscore the three NWR drivers, the three burgundy red cars. They're going to have to take some doing in order to do that now. Save Yassar wins the race, which he has complete control over this right now. That's 80 points. If Millis beats Lewis, that's not enough. They're gonna have to hope for a DC of some nature. Potentially a DC anyway. Or some absolute mess of a lap where one of these guys have a nightmare. Or rain. Rain would also help. He leads Yassar stranded on the track maybe. Same with Jensen. That would help FGR quite heavily. You can see Millis is just starting to snake Perry down now. He is charging ahead of the sixth place, toward the sixth place driver here. Just starting to get things to work. We'll see probably next lap that Millis tries for a move here, I reckon. Perry's got enough fuel to go 2 more maybe. I'd be surprised if he goes a little bit more than that. We'll see if Millis can get that gap down. 1.6 at the moment. Ben's got a penalty that'll drag him a little bit closer to Emery. Oh no, it won't, because Emery's got 1.5, so that'll drag Emery closer to the Dark Knight, who's looking for an extra position in this race. On what started out so promising for P1R, has faltered quite drastically. They will beat Jake. They will beat Javi in this race. That'll be 14th and 13th, respectively, in terms of when they DC'd. But quite frankly, it's going to become very problematic for them to get higher than what they've got at the moment. Millis is now ahead of Perry. Perry is into the pits. Millis will go for a while. Ben into the pits as well. Lewis is the next car up. 18 seconds currently splits Lewis and Millis. We'll see if that can be breached in any way, shape or form come the end of this race. Don't forget again that the fact that they've got to they don't have to use another set of medium tyres, do Lewis and Jensen in particular, neither does Millis and Super GT. So these four are fighting for position when they get the chance to get close enough to each other. Doesn't look like that's going to be happening anytime soon though. Jensen 5.4 ahead of Super GT. It's 5.3 ahead of Lewis, and then Lewis is obviously almost half a pit stop clear of Millis in 6th. Jensen is starting to close down BX. BX not doing the same to Yassar. BX gets another penalty. And that's been the story of BX's race. Any chance he's had to really close the gap has been marred by a penalty. And that's what's created that 12-second advantage. In comes BX and Yassar, same lap. Which means Jensen will now take the lead of the race. Super GT will take 2nd. Can imagine that they're both going to go for a little while longer. Lewis has stayed out as well. Yassar out ahead of Millis. That's big because Millis now can't even be used as a tool to hold up Yassar. I think he's going to be beat out by BX as well. Nope, BX is going to get out behind Millis. BX is on yet another set of softs. Yassar is on yet another set of softs. So they will have potentially an extra pit stop on Millis and company, which will make that very interesting. Don't forget the pit lane, at Nürburgring is a long pit lane. A very long pit lane. We're wondering if there's going to be anything they can do, anything Millis and company can do, especially if they are going one stop less. If that ends up being, if there is a scenario where the one stop works, Super GT and Millis and company, well, the two stop rather, works in the Super GT company actually get good results, maybe a top 2, maybe a double podium potentially, if that falls the way that it falls their way, then the likelihood of outscoring NWR isn't high, but it will give him more of a chance. That's a certain. BX now going to serve his penalty. Millis gets a little bit of breathing space. We'll see if BX had the pace on the next couple of laps here to charge Millis back down. He should do. He's on the softer tyres compared to the half-one mediums as well, so BX should really be passed by the end of the next lap if he's got any chance here. So 14 seconds up the road. Pit stop putting 15 seconds behind his teammate. Which means that, given the fact that Yassar was 12 up on BX and BX was about 3 or 4 up on Jensen, and the pit stop is about the 30-second mark, the 30-second loss on the pit stop, maybe a little bit more. Continue through. Lewis still ahead of Yassar, 2.6 seconds. Got 2.4 for Super GT in front of that. Don't forget that Lewis hasn't pit off the second set of, the first set of soft that he went on to. Which means he is going to have to figure it out strategy-wise. We'll see what he elects to do here then, because I think he might be pitting at the end of this lap. If he isn't pitting at the end of this one, he's pitting at the end of the next one. Doesn't really have a choice there. We are over, almost half distance. We're about to hit half distance actually, I think, in the next lap or two. Lewis into the pits, Jensen into the pit. Super GT will now assume the lead of the race. If you're Super GT, if you're Super GT, a DC would not be the worst thing in the world right now. Get the extra flag, get the red flag conditions in. Jensen and Lewis would have pit. I don't know if they're going to beat Millis out. give them first. And no, they're not going to beat Millis out at all. Millis down the line. Millis, there's Jensen. And Jensen out behind BX. Millis is still involved. Millis on the inside. Millis looking to hold third. The problem is that what he's doing is holding BX up. And BX is now passed. And yeah, BX is now past past Millis now for third. Millis is going to be under fire from Jensen straight away. Jensen will then have a run at BX. And the potential for 1-2 would then be on the card, depending on what Super GT's got in store. Well, here comes Jensen, looking to the outside, well, looking to the inside rather on Millis, but doesn't really get anything to go. Maybe a little bit of contact on the back. Nothing Millis couldn't handle, didn't unsettle the car at all either. So Millis is just holding Jensen at bay, much like he did Ben earlier on in this race, and he needs to do it. The more he can hold Jensen at bay, the better it is for his teammate. Force Jensen into a mistake, potentially. Yeah. At this point in time, everything the FGR done hasn't really worked. NWR in that kind of McLaren position where you just have to get over the line at this point. Jensen with a switchback, a little bit of a dummy. I think there may have been a little bit of contact on the way through against Millis as well. But Jensen is up in a fourth. There you go, Jensen past Millis then. Millis the second back as well straight away. He is still 9 seconds, ahead of Lewis, who went to another set of softs. This is second set of softs for Jensen, second set of softs for Lewis. Don't forget, Millis has still only pitted once. Everyone else in this group will only have, well, will have one pit stop at least to make. I can imagine that Millis is dragging this out for as long as he can to do mediums to the end. Try and make that 2-stop work. I wonder if that's the case. I don't know if Jensen can go to the end from when he pit in terms of with one extra pit stop, because if that is the case, then obviously Jensen and BX are already they cleared their extra stop. So this would be Millis's actual position, and none of them have cleared the extra stop on Super GT. Which means Super GT is technically net P1. As it stands, if they are going to the end here, or going to the end of their next stop, then Super GT technically has a 6-second advantage at the front of the group. A race win would be nice. They actually give the ability for a potential dragging it on to next week. And he does have to realistically win this race at any cost. You saw 5.7 seconds off the back of Super GT. Now he is just starting to edge into that gap. The longer this goes, the better it is for Yassar. I do wonder when Super GT and Millis are planning on pitting. It's on the fastest lap of the race up to this point as well. Appreciate the 27 of you currently in the stream watching along as we come towards, well, just past the halfway point of the race here at the Nürburgring GP circuit. If you like what we do here, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, like the video as well. And if you want to be part of this championship going forward, feel free to drop me a message on Discord. Join the ALR server. The invite to the server should be somewhere in the description, I'm pretty sure. If it's not, that needs to be fixed. But yeah, you feel free to join us for next season. I appreciate that, Petrol. I appreciate that. Team me, Wack, and BX, we absolutely love what we have here. To be honest with you, in esports, it's been, well, you know, working. It's been a progress of mine, a process, and a project is probably the better word I'm looking for a few years now. Actually, we're on season 8 next season. Hopefully, got a bunch of teams returning later on for the new calendar year. Just put out the calendar last week. The end of last week's race. It's on the end of the YouTube stream from that, and it's also in the Discord as well. So everything's looking good. And then we've got the endurance series as well. The new year, 12 hours of Spa. That's actually going to open up next season's procedures, I guess. I think that's Sunday before we're meant to start on esports. But yeah, the new year is going to be a very fun time in ALR, I think. Continue on with this one, 2.6 now, the gap between Super GT and Yassars. He is just eating into that gap very quickly. Then we got BX 20 seconds off the back of Yassar. Jensen, and then Millis as well. Millis 3.6 seconds ahead of Lewis, who really hasn't executed much well today in the slightest, but he has just done his job. The Dark Knight in 7th as it stands. You got Kevin half a second ahead of Perry, who pit onto another set of soft not that long ago. Looked like it was 25, 26, he did so. Kevin will lose out that position to Perry at the end of the lap here. Continue on with the lap 32 of 59. Perry really trying to get on the back of Kevin, trying to get past Kevin as quickly as he can do so. The Project Platypus look to solidify a 3rd place in the championship. Perry is just on the back of Kevin. That's going to give him it. Now that the penalty being served by Kevin, and Perry goes on through. So Perry up today. Perry the next man up. Ben after that by about 6.5 seconds. And then after that at Kepler is 23 off the pack. Not gone well for him in the slightest today. Miller's 2.1 ahead of Lewis. That gap's coming down at a rapid rate, about 2 seconds. 2.3 seconds actually on that last lap. It's the gap that came down. That is not good news in the slightest for Miller, who's seen that gap being shredded very quickly. Jensen 2.3 off the back of BX as they just look to pile on the misery for the rest of the teams here today. And to pile on the misery for the rest of the teams for the rest of the season, because they are looking to wrap it up. Trying to get it done today, trying to get Bathurst at the victory lap. Can they get it done? Admittedly, if I was looking at this and saying, if they're the 3rd Def GR driver, I'd be looking at it saying that they probably couldn't. Yassar is now going after Super GT. Don't forget, this is for position if Super GT is in fact going to the end of the race on his next stop. We're on to lap 34 now. We're 25 from the end after this lap. We'd assume that Super GT need to go at least 2 more. I would assume that's exactly what he's doing. By Super GT, just getting enough to hold off Yassar for now. Just enough at the moment. Those rear tyres are starting to dwindle away. Yassar should make easy work of this when he gets to him. reckon it's the end of the lap, if I'm honest with you, that Yassar's going to make quick work of this. I don't think Yassar will be too bothered how long it takes, to be completely honest with you, because he's had the substantial gap pretty much from the start. I wonder if there's going to be anything in it for Yassar. We go through the Schumacher races here. Half a second the gap. I don't think there's going to be anything in it in this on lap 34, but lap 35 could provide fruitful for the Burgundy Red. There you go, Super GT kicking up a little bit of gravel. Yassar right on the back of him now. 2.5 tenths, sorry. He's about to cut that down into 2 tenths. Maybe a move may materialize into the chicane. No, Yassar didn't even attempt to try that. It's probably why Super GT having a bit of a mare on the exit. Couldn't keep the car straight. Slid out. Still has an advantage in Yassar for now, though. Yassar's fresher tyres. He's going to make this easy. He's got the inside line. Yassar takes the lead of the race. I think that's Kepler that just came out the pits. And Kepler has just been lapped by the 2 leaders. And Yassar has done a good job here. The real question is, I assume it's medium tyres going on Super GT's car here on the next stop, which will give Yassar that opportunity to just drive away with what he's got currently. Super GT still 19 seconds ahead of BX. Not really got anything to worry about in that regard. Jensen is right on the back of BX as well. The FGR need BX to hold on to that. Cannot afford for Jensen to get any more positions. If anything, they need Jensen and Lewis to go the other way, or for Yassar to have one hell of a bottle. Take something special from this point onwards, to be honest with you. 11 seconds to Lewis after that, who's got past Miller's 3.4 seconds advantage there. And it looks like Miller's now in a little bit of a world of his own. Lewis is well past him. The Dark Knight nowhere near, 15 seconds off the back of the German. Perry 6 seconds off the back of the Dark Knight as well. You got Karen ahead of Emery, Ben, and then Kepler are 52 seconds off the back. I'm not entirely sure what Kepler is doing, to be completely honest with you. On this race at the moment, 2:06 and lap 31, 2:14, and I assume it was a rather recent pit stop here. Yeah, we saw him come out at the end of the last lap. Kepler is just starting to get to pile on the pit stops, I guess. It's not been a pretty afternoon for him. Yassar 1.7 ahead of Super GT now then. Needs to keep this going. He needs to keep this gap as short as he can, the Super GT. I wonder if that's going to be possible in the slightest. Yassar's been on fire at the moment. There's Kepler in the background. Like Jensen also right on the back of BX. Jensen right on the back of BX now. This could be very interesting. Is there anything in this for Jensen just to put one final nail in the coffin, potentially? Here we go, Jensen trying to get something going. Doesn't get anything there against BX. 0.3 of a second, 3.5 of a second. Now it's 4.5 of a second on the exit of the corner. Jensen goes ever so slightly wide. I don't really think Jensen's going to have a real go at BX here on this lap. I think if he's going to have a go, it'll be down into turn 1 on lap 37. And that might be the earliest opportunity he gets Even though this is an electric exit. This is an electric exit. He's going to have a go now. Surely he's going for it now. Down the inside, little dummy switch. Jensen is ahead of the corner. Jensen is going rocket flying. It turned it into a rocket ship. And you can tell it was coming. Then he goes round. I was too busy laughing at the prior corner. You've got some airtime. You could tell he was compromised. And BX will gain the 4-second advantage there. Jensen with a mistake. I don't think I can call it a critical mistake, because he's going to get away with it. He saved himself from going the entire way round. But an error nonetheless. An error that Super GT nonetheless will definitely like to have. Millis and the Dark Knight into the pits now. Super GT came out with 10 seconds off the back of Lewis and has done exactly what I thought he would do. It's mediums to the end. So that's the end of the pit stops for Super GT, I think. There's at least one more for Jensen and company. I wonder if there's more than one. I think he's going to lap 40, you know. The real question is, the medium tires going on a lap 40? Or another set of softs? That might not be 40 actually. It might not be 40. He went in a lap of 28. And it might be a little bit more. Might be about 43 might go to here. That's going to be very interesting then. There's still definitely a stop for the entire group left to go. That is a certainty. The real question is it one or is it two? I would assume it's one. FGR probably hoping the latter. 20-second advantage. We know it's about a 30-second pit stop. Super GT will be outside of that range by quite some margin. I wonder if there's going to be any fight back. I don't think there's going to be any fight back against Yasar at all. I think the fight back's going to have to be against BX. I think Super GT might be locked in the second here. Which, if there was 3 people for FGR tonight, them being in second place would be a very good sign of trying to keep it going. But it's a problem the longer this goes. Don't forget, that number needs to be 129 or lower at the end of the night. Albeit the teams NWR won so many races this season that I think countback is definitely in their favour. So realistically, the number needs to be 128 or lower. Current gap at the beginning of the day was 133. Let's see if there's going to be anything here. BX is now 2.7 seconds out of Jensen, so Jensen is just starting to pick the pace back up again. .5, the gap there, 21 to the lead. Lewis is 7.4 off the back of Jensen, despite Jensen's error earlier on. And then you've got Super GT 11 seconds off the back of that. Perry in 6th, Ben in 7th, Millis in 8th. And don't forget Millis is going to the end as well. Everyone else will still pit in this one. You got Dark Knight, Kevin, Henry, and then Kepler. So Henry at the back of the grid, but he's gone mediums to the end now as well. So yeah, I think Kevin's going to the end as well. So Kevin to the end, Henry to the end, Dark Knight to the end as well. Millis lead those 4. Ben still has to pick. Perry still has to pick. And so does all of the top 4. very much split now. Ben now into the pits, lap 39 of 59. I don't really know if there's going to be much movement left in this one. Jensen is going to try and charge down BX to try and force him. Is there going to be anything in this at all for Ben Jensen, who's now got within a second or just about a second behind BX? Doing a very good job in the process of trying to hunt down the Project Platypus car, who is currently in net P2, on track on P2. I think Super GT is in there somewhere, should be in front of these two, but not sure for sure, not 100% certain on that. I wonder if Jensen is going to be able to close that gap down again. That last lap was about a second, 1.3 seconds quicker actually. He's done a decent job of it. Got a lot better tyres than what BX does as well. Wonder if there's going to be any opportunity opening up for any of these drivers right now. It looks like there might be one for Henry. He may have just overtaken Kevin actually. Let's see if we can get they go through the Schumacher S. Let's see if we can get something. Apparently we are not getting any sort of replay at all. Yep. Yeah, so I guess we're not getting replay of that. See if so Henry's just ahead of Kevin then. Perry into the pits now. Just starting to fill up his tank. This will be his final stop then. We head on to lap 40 with him on the medium tyres. So, mediums to the end for Perry. Mediums for Kevin, for Emery and company at the back as well. Will mean that the Dark Knight and Millis have gone quite far into the distance now. About 4 seconds advantage for the Dark Knight on the American. Millis even further up ahead, about 10 seconds clear of Perry. And currently, about 30 seconds away from being lapped. You saw now into the pits. You saw definitely into the pits now, going on to the mediums to end. We know for a fact that this has to be a medium tyre. He hasn't used it yet, so it definitely has to be the yellow wall tyre. And we go through. It is mediums for Yassar. He is out ahead of Super GT, but not by an awful lot. Or is it? That actually looked like quite a long distance there in the background of that shot, that's a certain. Yassar 6 seconds clear of the German for FGR. So Yassar is in net P1. I can safely assume that it'll be Super GT in net P2. BX and Jensen have been fighting for P2 on track, and now Jensen is ahead of BX. Which means that Jensen is in net P3. BX needed all that position. We continued on, but it's not going to be likely that BX gets that position back at all now. These two will have to pit in this race. I reckon BX is coming in at the end of the next lap, or end of this one maybe. Depending on how much fuel is left in that car. I can't tell if that's 1 or 2 laps, well, half a lap or 1.5 laps left of fuel in the tank for that Ferrari. I do wonder if it is a pit stop on this lap or not. Lewis is 7 seconds off the back of the Ferrari. Is a pit stop in for BX this lap then. So BX is in on this lap, 1 second behind Jensen before he entered the pits. Now Jensen has an extra couple of laps in him. I wonder whether or not there's going to be an opportunity for Jensen to actually continue building the gap. Don't forget, he can go onto another set of softs if he can make them last. BX cannot. BX has to go onto a medium tyre. Hasn't used it yet. Is it going to have to be the medium tyres on BX's car? Super GT has already gone by, so Super GT well ahead of the Project Platypus car. So net P2 it is for the German. Currently 15 seconds, 16 seconds ahead of BX. Absolute massive gap. That is not getting closed down, that's for certain. So Super GT should have BX in BX's number here. Miller, well, a long way back is the answer to that question. It doesn't look to be getting any better. He's going to get 6th. The problem is 6th isn't good enough. He is currently sitting at about 30 seconds off the back of BX, so well and truly in a world of his own here, Millis. It's only one for sixth place. BX is in the same boat for 5th at the moment until Lewis pits on the end of, well, probably the end of the next lap. I assume he's not pitting now. I'd assume he'd go one more. Try and go 16th to the end on softs. There we go. Jensen still 8.6 seconds ahead of his teammate. You can just see his teammate peering into the back of the shot there. Yassar already on the back of him. Lewis is right there. Yassar is ready to make moves if he has to, but I don't think he will. They both will have pit out of his way by then. Super GT 6 seconds back. They'll all pit in and around where BX is as well. So Ben's got half a second. Kevin right behind that. Okay, right in front of that rally, should I say. Ben's got a nice bit of a run. Probably got a little bit better tyres as well, but admittedly that half-second penalty is going to make it all the more difficult to hold the position if he is to overtake Kevin, and he won't be by the time he hits that penalty marker. So it's going to drop to about a second behind Kevin, maybe a little bit more. And he now takes the penalty behind the P1R driver. Kepler are only 3 seconds off the back of everyone somehow. Afterwards being a completely disastrous day for him in every facet. Emery still comfortably ahead of Kevin as well. Comfortably ahead of Kevin. It's not been a good day for ITM, I'll say that much. Dark Knight in 7th, but doing enough to try and solidify 4th for P1R, that's a certain. Perry in 9 seconds ahead of Emery, 7 behind the Dark Knight, not really going to do much there. Millis 6.5 seconds ahead of the Dark Knight, 31 off the back of BX, and we can keep going up the list as Lewis and Jensen are now into the pit, so this is going to be the interesting scenario. I assume we can now figure out what the situation is going to be. The fuel is starting to go into Jensen's car, and Super GT is already past the pit line. So Super GT is comfortably clear. He has only 6 seconds off the back of Yassar, who has to be on a medium tyre as well, remember. So if Super GT can find some pace, he's going to have an opportunity. Yassar currently not as quick as Super GT is on the same tyre. That's a big point. That's a big talking point at the moment. Don't forget that Jensen and Lewis are both on soft tyres. They don't have to go onto a medium. They used theirs earlier on in the race. Jensen's going to have to charge down 15 seconds, which is going to be an impressive feat if he can do it. Not that he needs to. Rather, right now, that's a 75 point a hole for Super GT. Go back to the book 1 second. 75 point hole for Super GT. 80 point hole for Yassar on opposite teams. There we go, 6th place for Millis, which is 58, so that's only 138 points total for FGR. And they've been outscored if Jensen ends in 3rd place here. And that's not even taking into account Lewis's extra 60 points as well. Being outscored by just Jensen and Yassar, and that will put the championship to bed. If there isn't anything drastic to end this race. Super GT needs, if Super GT can win this one, it'll be moral victories for FGR to stop them going again. In this one, it's well, on week 7, and NWR have won 5 of the prior 6 races from Lobby A. This being a Lobby A race, you're looking to make it 6 from 7. We'll see if that is going to be the case realistically. Right, 5 seconds now, the advantage then Yassar to Super GT. Super GT has actually been in control on the medium tyres right now. When they've both been on the same tyre, it's advantage FGR. The problem is that they've not really been on the same tyre a lot today. Well, a lot of the situation has actually come for NWR. That extra stop has proved a little bit more helpful. I wonder if what would happen if Millis hadn't gone to the back early. It would have been a lot closer to BX and company, that's for certain. The clock is starting to wind down. The chances of something drastic happening are slowly but surely fading. Don't forget, it's not enough for Lewis to DNF now, for DC now, and get the points for what would be 12 points in 12th place if he DNF'd. Jensen's probably going to have to be the one that does push up Millis a bit more. Alright, 4 seconds between BX and Jensen. It's not going to be really difficult for BX to get anywhere near Jensen now. Lewis is going to be the one that potentially goes after BX later on in this race. If that's the case, then a 1-3-4 for NWR never really gave anyone a chance in the first place. Super GT's return to the group, however, or to ALR, has been very, very impactful. That looks like a penalty for someone. I'm not sure who. Yassar's got it. Okay, Yassar, half a second penalty. He'll take on the next lap. The gap has already been coming down this entire stint to Super GT. The gap will get aided a little bit more by the half-second penalty. So that gap will come down under to about the 4-second mark. Super GT can get a couple of good corners on the next lap. That penalty marker will bring the gap within about 3.5 seconds. Isn't out the realm of possibility for Super GT, you know? A return to ALR may provide a win if Yassar isn't careful here. Don't forget that 4 points for NWR as well for pole position. As it stands, it's 4 points for NWR for fastest lap. So that is gonna hamper the ability for FGR to really do anything just a little bit more. You saw just losing time on Super GT. Look, it's another 0.2 of a second come off the board since the beginning of the lap. That penalty is going to kick in as well in the next couple of corners. That gap is going to come down a little bit further. I'm very intrigued to see if Super GT can actually overturn this. Tyres aren't going to fall off the car for a while. And definitely won't fall off your sides at all. There's the penalty kicking in. We'll see the gap now shrink just a little bit further. Half-second penalty, of course, was what he served. It's now under 4 seconds. It's about 3.7 tenths of a second. Yeah, 3.6 is the actual gap here then between Yassar and Super GT. That is not a insurmountable lead in the slightest with the way these last few laps have gone. BX is 2.6 ahead of Lewis, and that is in the same boat. Lewis on the soft tyres should be able to pick BX off fairly easily here. Ben right behind Emery, got past Kevin eventually. The ITM are just looking to not end the final 3 spots. In the easiest way possible, I think, is the situation here. Emery not really putting a lot of pace down at the moment. Ben is getting hunted down as well by Kevin, just trying to sneak his way into an extra couple of positions for P1R, just to solidify that 4th place just a little bit more. Dark Knight has obviously done that job today. The gap at the lead, a reminder, gap at the lead of the championship at the beginning of the day was 133. It looks like that gap is going to extend even further. 132. Needed to be 128 by the end of the day. It's definitely not going to be remotely close to that. There is technically a scenario where NWR show up with no drivers next week. So that technically is a scenario. In which a FGR team 1, 2, 3 could score 225 points. Just doing the maths with how this ends, with more than likely ending as it is right now. Maybe not actually, with Lewis trying to get BX. Let's see. If it ends as it did right now, that's 80 points, 70 points, and 62. So that would be, what, 100, That'll be 150. 212. Scored for NWR to the, what? 133. Currently scored. It technically isn't over. Technically. There's a gigantic technicality to that. It does require that nobody turns up for NWR next week. So, yeah, technically, mathematically, it's not over. The likelihood of them bringing absolutely nobody is pretty low. Even then, only one. Even if they just bring one person, that one person has to finish the race, just for it to be game, set, and match. It's 212. Technically, it's 220 with the fastest part points. Yeah, the gap's not enough. Not mathematically enough. With 9 laps left to go. Well, still technically a chance. I guess there is a will, there is a way. One way of putting it. I think this might be the first time we've seen a title fight wrapped up a week early. Continue on. Lewis half second off the back of BX now. Lewis is just trying to get involved against BX, trying to get his way past. We'll up the points just a little bit more. There'll be 4 more points going in the direction of NWR. I mean, it'd be 224 points scored on the day. That gap extending by, what? 91 more to the 132. It already was. The gap being 223 points. We know that 1, 2, 3 can score 225. The mathematics don't check out in terms of guaranteeing a title at the end of this. But all it takes is for one person to show up next week, and that will do it there and then. So I will be calling this as if it was a world championship, and either way, because I would be very surprised if they don't show up with anybody. And even then, it would require a 1, 2, 3 from FGR. It would require some will, that's a certain. Lewis to the outside! Is he going to get it done on BX? He is going to get it done on BX! And Lewis is up into 4th. Continue on. You saw 5.4 ahead of Super GT all over again. That's that glimmer of hope for Super GT, just to try and open an opportunity for FGR, just faded away. It'll be 6 from 7 unless something major happens. Jensen's 8.4 off the back of Super GT, so realistically that's going to be probably an insurmountable lead by the end of this race as well. Continue on in this race. So to say 8 seconds now. Under 8 seconds for Super GT. There is still 8 laps to go. 7 and some change, so... Well, actually, 8 and some change realistically, so there isn't Well, there is a possibility he is still able to try and chunk that gap to the end. It's going to be very interesting now then. The X trying to fight Lewis back. Is there a move potentially on down to turn 1? It doesn't look like there is. 0.3 of a second, maybe a little bit insurmountable into turn 1. It is exactly that. BX just trying to hang on a little bit. The softs will eventually fall off. BX will have to be in the right place to pick it off. When they do, you can see Perry in the back of the shot, going through the hairpin on the lap prior. And that probably sums up the gulf of in the gap between the top 5 and the rest of the group. Looks like Lex just trying. Can he get himself involved? Can he get himself a move? He's trying to fashion an opening. He hasn't quite done it. Into the hairpin, now through the Schumacher S's. For an opportunity if he can get the exits right down into the back chicane. He is closing that gap in on Lewis corner by corner at this point. Now 0.2 of a second. The only problem for BX is that might have come one corner too early. Is it going to have to be an exit and a half just to get alongside? He hasn't got it. As I said before, I think it came one corner too early for BX to really make his opportunity of the move. That Ferrari's looked a lot more stable than the cars around it in that final chicane today. Already seen Jensen go off there once. You know, it's a possibility. BX again, maybe just too far away to make something happen into turn 1. And he is exactly that. Lewis is just going to hang on. 0.2 of a second, right there and thereabouts again. BX just trying to hang on the back of him. Every moment that goes by, he's just trying to fashion an opening. It just isn't happening. Everyone further back are well in their own positions now. It's realistically now the only battle we've got on track. Oh, BX has made a mess of that. BX making a mess of that one. That hairpin did not serve him well in the slightest. That gap went from 0.4 and doubled. Might give BX a little bit of leeway here, to be honest with you. Keeps him in the slipstream. The dirt yeah, isn't as bad. But realistically, it should, given the opportunity, find a bit of a rhythm again. As I say, and as soon as I say that, he goes extremely wide, kicks up a lot of dirt, and that gap is opening back up again. Look at the SPX just starting, I would say just starting to find a bit of a rhythm, but he slid again on the exit of the final corner, and that gap is just opening up slowly but surely with the mistakes that he's making. We're on to lap 54 of 59 now then. .2, the gap now 1.3. That gap is just going to continuously extending now. I don't really see there being much of an opportunity for any actual potential moves at all. Let's see if there's anyone on track close enough for a move here. 6.1 for Yassar out in front for Super GT, 6.3 to Jensen in third. Who was 11 seconds ahead of his teammate. Whereas obviously there was 1.2 we were just watching ahead of BX. Miller's driving on his own, same goes for the Dark Knight and for Perry. Then 5 seconds ahead of Emery, probably puts him in the same boat. Everyone else actually pretty much driving on their own, apart from Kepler, who's on the back of Yassar. It might become a problem for Yassar if he attempts to even go attempts to go past him at all. On softs, Yassar's on mediums. Should be quicker. I don't really know if Kepler's got anything for Yassar here. If he does, he can waste a couple of seconds for Yassar. Might make this super interesting for Super GT all over again. Yassar still ahead of Kepler. Kepler in the back of the group, obviously, just been lapped by Yassar not that long ago. Looking through BX, 1.3 seconds, 1.4 seconds. It looks like Lewis has just got a bit of a grasp on this position now. Really know if BX has got anything to fight this back, to be honest with you. Just everyone's just starting to be away from each other at the moment. Emery's actually starting to close down their teammate. I wonder if there's going to be anything in that come the end of the race. Kepler seems to find a little bit of rhythm now once he's following Yassar. The only problem is he could have done with that probably about 50 laps ago from this point. The race has not been anything worth writing home about. That is for certain. You see Super GT in the back of the shot now. Still 6 seconds advantage either side of it. Lewis still 1.3 with BX. BX can just get a couple of good corners here. Can open up the opportunity once again. He has got to get something good going. He's got to be a couple of corners in a row, otherwise it'll just start to fall away. And that seems to be what is happening at the moment. Just seeing if there's anything else. I don't think there is. Kepler is closing in on Kevin each lap that goes by on the back of Yassar. So if Yassar can get him close enough to Kevin, there might be an opportunity there for the Italian to try and steal a couple more points. But they managed to finish the race is fairly impressive. He's been absolutely battered from pillar to post today. Let's see. So 1.3 seconds now for Lewis and BX. That gap's been relatively stable for the last couple of laps to this point. We go from to about 3.5 to the end now. You Super GT and Jensen, unless something massively goes wrong, should be a podium. Kepler has done a very good job of holding Yassar at bay. Let's see. Continuing on, VX is just starting to close that gap back down. He's about just outside that 1 second mark now. Right, we got 0.8 of a second, just taking advantage now. Just starting to make their way through. I wonder if BX has got themselves an opportunity. One final opportunity. Nine-tenths of a second now between Lewis and BX on this lap. BX is just dropping in and out. Every single chance he gets is just... starting to get an opportunity for Lewis to hold on. We're on the end of lap 57 and 59. It's just starting to go in the direction of the Burgundy Red against BX in particular. By 0.8 of a second, but that's going to do it. BX had the penalty. BX had the penalty, and that'll open up the opportunity for Lewis to get away. I don't think Jensen's catching enough, to be completely honest with you. Yeah, he is catching, but he's catching at such a slow rate that it is irrelevant. There's no hope in hell in that Jensen's going to get that any work. He's just been doing the wide. Some of that gap away for Super GT has been taken away by the half-second penalty that he's currently got. So there's no real chance for Jensen to try and act and see if he can get in second place. There's no real chance for that. Yes, comfortably. Technically, not mathematically, they win it next week as long as they bring a single human being that finishes across the line in any position. But I'm going to call it as if they won it. Purely because that would... If that is a situation where JWR bring nobody and then FGR 1, 2, 3 pole and fastest lap next race, I will eat my own words, because the chance of that happening are zero. It has never happened before in ALR. Period. Nobody has got a perfect day. Nobody has got a 1, 2, 3 fastest lap and pole. Hasn't happened. We had the 1, 2, 3 this time, twice this season from NWR themselves, funny enough. As Jensen drops now 7 seconds off the back as we go to lap 59 of 59. The chances of that, I mean, it is technically a possibility. The chance of that happening, that would be unbelievably hilarious and also unbelievably outlandish. Like, it would be WWE levels of scripted level of absolute mania, like lunacy, if that happened. We got Yassar here, 6.5 seconds of Super GT. And as it stands, it realistically is been one-way traffic. The entire race has been one-way traffic. Quite frankly, after the 1, 2, 3 twice this season This championship has been one-way traffic. He's got 2 corners to go to make it 6 from 7 for the Burgundy Red. NWR looking to put their name in the history books. Round the final corner goes Yassar to win for the 80 points. He got pole, he got the fastest lap, so the team got themselves max points there. Super GT will come over in second on his return to ALR. It's been a great day for him. Jensen is just going to drive to the line, but we won't commentate on him too going over in third. It's the final step. We will turn our attention to Lewis, and with the final corner in sight, and over the line goes Lewis, and over the line goes the championship. NWR, provided there isn't a miracle, provided they bring one human being who finishes the race next week, will be champions of the world for the first time in ALR. It stops the three-peat. It stopped the chance for FGR to write the history books once again. But it'll be the Burgundy Red who will win Season 7, unless there's a miracle. They have been dominant all season. They've won 6 of the 7. They've had multiple 1, 2, 3s. It's the first time we had ever seen it in ALR. When it happened the first time earlier on in the season, they did it again after that. And they really could not be denied. Millis will come over in 6th. BX came over in 5th. The Dark Knight finishes over in 7th. Perry's going to Tokyo drift his way around the final corner. The come home in 8th. Benton is next. Kevin and Kepler both got lapped in the end, and Kevin ended up hanging on by a 10th of a second. The Ben and then Emery after that. These two for ITM driving for 9th and 10th. But it has been one hell of a season for NWR. And the likelihood is just showing up next week does it properly. Mathematically, I think they're up by about 210 points or something in that region. So technically, mathematically, it's not done. But the chances of it getting overturned are next to none. And with that being said, that should get NWR over the line. It won't be a three-peat. It will be a new name on the championship. NWR thoroughly deserved it. With that being said, I was just checking the file. I don't actually ended the stream already. With that being said, I'll see you guys same time next week, 7:30 for Bathurst. Where, unless a miracle happens, it'll be over for certain. Until then, peace.